Yeah, no, it was just I was just scrolling around. I work, and honestly, they don't care what we do at work because we're adults, and they let us be adults and do whatever we need to do. But I saw that there were some complaints because Disney was copying someone else's art, and that became a big controversy. And so I had to jump in and be like, "What?" Because listen, I love Star Wars. I love The Last Jedi, but I'm also someone that is I'm very aware that there is like a just a hate culture around anything modern or I don't know. There's a whole
Anything.
that's a whole separate
Existence.
thing. It's like a anything that's perceived to support brown people is makes people mad. I don't know. I don't even know where to go with it. But um so there's a whole hate culture around Star Wars and Disney. And so I was curious if this was just part of that hate culture or if it actually warrants some stuff. And after watching the receipts, I gotta say, this series of choreography was copied. So if you watch here, you'll see this is copied bar for bar, angle for angle. Although I will say there is a shortcut at the end because there is a slight difference even in this short clip. And I'm looking at it, and all these people are saying, "Man, they should pay you for using Disney. Disney can't shouldn't copy this." And I do not care. I don't care. Okay, here's the thing. This is part of Visions. Visions is a collective, a series of different studios around the world because this was from season two, and their personal interpretations of Star Wars that they're putting out. And so, if you change the headline from Lucasfilm copies fan film or Disney copies fan film, if you change it to this small anime studio
It's
from
88
India,
pictures.
yes, 88 Pictures, if you change it to them copying 3 seconds of choreography, all of a sudden it goes from a scandal to you don't actually care. And that's the part that kind of confuses me, but I'm curious where you come down on this. Because I can see this was copied.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, where I come down on it, as someone who is on the creative side of development in games, um, I'm always on the side of the artist. I'm always on the
Yeah.
side of, giving credit where credit's due, pay the artist. In this case, obviously, we've already clarified that this is 88 Pictures' fault. And this isn't really a Disney or a Star Wars thing. And it is kind of rampant in today's society that is removed from Star Wars or Marvel. We've had stories of artists copying independent artists, with Destiny, with Marathon, and so just this thing
Nature, yeah.
exists, with artists all across the industries involved in creative, and I think the onus doesn't largely fall on any one entity. It certainly falls on the producers and the leads to make sure that what they're looking at is original. Obviously, we can no one's a robot and they're going to catch 100% of the things. But where I join you in not caring is that this is a fan film property that was based on Star Wars. I'm going to clarify myself here. They're creatively profiting off of Star Wars. And so this would be a different story if it was like an original story, original fight between two people, but creatively it's based in the Star Wars universe, and so it's kind of like derivision upon derivision, you know what I mean? Like, it's just derivative work. And while I respect that, yes, it was copied, I blame 88 Pictures, and then I also just don't care either.
Well, okay, I do want to clarify. It's not that I don't care about work being stolen. I actually care about that a great deal. I just see a lot of not holes. I don't know what the word is for this, but okay. Let me kind of list it out here. This just to me feels like a way for the people who hate Star Wars, for the Star Wars haters, I should say. And by Star Wars haters, I mean people who spend most of their time making Star Wars hate content. This is a way for Star Wars haters to hate Star Wars, and this is just a vehicle for them to do so. Uh, I see it as that more than anything else, and the reason why is because this isn't Lucasfilm's fault. It's not Disney's fault. So there's some of the Studio 88 did, but that's the thing is anime studios. It'd be one thing if they copied a whole fight. If they copied 4 seconds of it because they thought that it was cool, like when I watch the Boondocks and I see that when um, Huey's fighting Stink Meter, he's copying um, the choreography between Sasuke and Orochimaru. That's paying homage, but that literally happens, and that's not uncommon in anime to copy a scene like a short segment as a way to play homage to something that they thought was really cool. So again, like I said, so it's not actually Disney, it's not actually Lucasfilm. By the way, it's different enough. They're using different weapons. It's a very short segment, and it is different. So he actually had to cut the film in order to keep it lining up because it doesn't. Uh, Again, it's very short. It's not the entire choreography. It's just a short section of it. And this is not uncommon when it comes to anime. But the biggest thing to me is the people I see complaining about it like AI. You know what I mean? Like if I see, you know, Star Wars theory is like, yeah, they're copying stuff. Here's my AI copy of Mark Hamill's voice, and you're like, what? What? Like, you
Stand on
do
business.
you do not care about copying work, right? Because all AI is an electronic like copying machine. If you're into that, then you're into that. If you're not into that, you're not into that. Don't lecture me on copying 3 seconds of a cool piece of choreography that some random animator may not even know he copied. By the way, because it's different enough and short enough that I honestly think it could have been something that he watched years ago, thought it was cool, internalized it, and then got an opportunity later and recreated it without paying attention. It's that minor to me that I think that could have happened, which, by the way, is why if you are a Star Wars author, officially, you are not allowed to read fanfic and stuff like that because you might unconsciously draw from something that you've read before. So there are safeguards in place already. So that's the other side of it.
Removed from what we're talking about right now, it is an ongoing problem with artists copying artists. That's a thing we've run into with a lot of games and a lot of comics. That's happening. This, I hesitate to call this situation Disney copied this choreography, and I hesitate to label it.
That's not what happened.
I hesitate to label it 88 copied this choreography because, as you mentioned, that this is 3 seconds of a larger fight. And this also brings into question where did the creator get those moves?
Okay.
If you make the argument that maybe this creator from 88, this animator from 88 Pictures, subconsciously kind of just saw this and they had watched it previously. But as with all inspirations, as with all creative works, where did this choreographer that worked on Dark Jedi get these moves? It's like trying to argue that you have a copyright over a corkscrew or a front backflip gainer that's used in a video that you're like, wait, I used that once. I have ownership over that move. And to be quite honest, a lot of the choreography from Dark Jedi reminds me of classic wuxia. And I'm not going to let that slide. That's not to say that this creator copied all of, Chinese martial arts films. It's just a lot
Well,
of wuxia sword fighting moves and choreo. And so it's not even an
and
entire choreography, it's just that specific sequence.
and also what they allegedly stole is actually pretty minor in context, but we have close friends that do lightsaber choreography, and they get really involved. And one of the reasons that the Battle of Heroes is so famous and so big and so popular is it encapsulates every move. It literally like I mean, listen, I'm not the choreographer, so I guess I can't fully speak on this, but they were explaining that he would try to come up with his own unique sequences, and it was very difficult to not do something that already exists as a part of that singular fight. Now, don't get me wrong, that fight is like a half an hour long. It's way too long, and it does too much.
It'd be hard
But
to find a choreography that exists today that did not come out of Yun Wo Ping's
so
filmography.
yeah, so then that becomes the next question. I don't know, and if you are creating Star Wars fan art, is something paying homage to that required to pay? I mean, The Last Jedi paid homage to Hardware Wars, which was a very popular Star Wars fan film, and it did so very intentionally. Right, it had a series where they had something that looked like it was a small ship landing, but it was really an iron landing to iron close. That was from that intentionally. I Is that a problem? I don't know. I just think this is a very minor thing that shouldn't be in, like
I
people are
also
like,
think
oh,
that
they should pay you, and I'm like, how much do you think they should pay you? How much do
there's
you think they paid 88 Studio? Because I doubt it was a whole lot.
I also think that there is an air of like intent that we need to suss out as well, right?
And
Because
Star Wars haters hating Star Wars.
no, the intent behind the usage of those moves, like you
Hmm.
said, it was intentionally paying homage to Hardware Wars with that iron. And who's to say that this person working for 88 Pictures saw Dark Jedi and saw that move and was like, that's pretty cool. I'll use that move specifically. And then the person that made Dark Jedi saw that move in a Donnie Yen was like, that's a cool move. I'll use that move as well. We throughout all of the noise and the hubbub and the hoopla around this. I hate to sound very 2000s, but like we haven't even heard from 88 Pictures, so we don't know. It could be that the animator saw it and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna copy it," but like that small sequence. There's a whole There's a whole fight.
Yeah, I'm just saying that even if they did, I wouldn't care. Listen, copyright laws in the United States alleges that a 20% difference is enough to be unique. This is more than 20%.